Local and live. Covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk TriState.
Dan DeDona here with the Local News 1 weekly report for the Hagerstown, Chambersburg, Smithsburg, Fairfield, Waynesboro, and all communities that make up our local area. We're going to start off, as we generally do, with 5 things to do this weekend. The 20th of March edition. Just barely starting to perceive spring right around the corner. Things are starting to get green out there. That's kind of nice. First item up is going to be the annual Spring Open House at Grandma's House. This is probably not your grandma, but Grandma's House in Chambersburg at 39 Warm Spring Road. Shoppers will be able to enjoy door prizes, refreshments, raffles, and special vendor discounts as we tiptoe our way into spring. The event's going to run from Friday, March 20th through Sunday, March 22nd. And from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. all 3 days. So the entire celebration aims to welcome the warmer season while supporting small businesses in downtown Chambersburg. Second item up, local musicians are going to be gathering to offer a Bach Festival at the Trinity Lutheran Church, 15 Randolph Avenue in Hagerstown. The concert, which features performances on organ, piano, violin, and voice, will be held from 4 until 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, March 21st. This is a part of the church's ongoing music series. The event is free and open to the public, but they will accept a free will donation. They won't actually twist your arm for that. So help them out with that if you could. Third item up, Treasures from the Past are going to be taking center stage as the Penmar Antique Market in Waynesboro is going to be celebrating its 9th anniversary with a spring open house. Celebration will be running from March 20th through 22nd as well, from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. each one of those days. That's located at 11870 Buchanan Trail West. You'll be inviting collectors and casual browsers alike to explore village furniture, decor, and collectibles. Should be a good time. For those of you who are fairly close in, this used to be a roller rink many years ago, 10 years to be exact. It was a very nice roller rink, but couldn't make it anymore in the current environment. Next up, car lovers will have something to do at the Branded Chop House's Cars and Coffee event in Boonesboro this coming weekend, starting at 9 a.m. until 9 a.m. It will be the head of the event, and then 10 a.m. to noon on Sunday, March 22nd. You'll be able to enjoy front row parking, and outdoor vendors, giveaways, prizes, plus a festive spring twist, an egg hunt, and photos with the Easter Bunny. Brunch will also be served inside the restaurant, so you'll be able to make a day of it almost. Fifth up, the fifth item, we'll be talking about good health, which will be the theme at the Nutrition Celebration at the Coyle Free Library in Chambersburg. This is going to be a free, family-friendly event. It will be running from noon until 2 p.m. on Saturday, March 21st. It invites participants of all ages to drop in for games, activities, and lessons about healthy eating led by Miss Sue. This event is held in recognition of National Nutrition Month. Coyle Free Library really has a lot of activities. You ought to check out their calendar from time to time. We have one additional item that we've added that didn't make the top 5 cut. This will be taking place on, I guess that would be Monday, the 23rd, at the Waynesboro YMCA, who will be hosting a free Lunch and Learn seminar for community members to help them navigate the complexities of both medical and financial legal planning. You're basically talking wills of various kinds here. This will be scheduled from noon until 1 p.m. at the YMCA's hub. It's going to be focusing on the importance of establishing a power of attorney. Local guest speakers who will specialize in family advocacy and legal decision making will be available, and they'll lead the discussion. Organizers say the event is designed to demystify the roles of different property agents, Planning for the what ifs is among the most important things you can do for yourself and your family. And I would definitely reiterate that. In recent months, we've been to 2 funerals, one of which were very close to home. And this stuff gets involved when you start going through the process. The most important thing about it, though, is to make sure you're going to take care of your family. You need to think that through. This isn't the sort of thing you just want to dump on them and they'll let them try to find their way. So there's there'll be a lot of good information there. All right, those are the things to do this weekend and on Monday. We're going to move on to a summary of the news over the past 2 weeks, really, because a lot of these stories have kind of run together. Weather has still been a very dominant factor in the news. There's an old saying, in Breton, France, the fishermen have been known to say that, "O God, thy sea is so great, and my boat is so small," which kind of characterizes what happens every time we have a really nasty weather event. We have a tendency to hunker down. And in this particular case, school was dismissed early on tornado and thunderstorm forecasts. It prompted several articles, one in the health section that talked about steps that you can take to cope with weather events like this. I could share a lot of aviation experiences with you as well, but I would tell you as a guy who loves to fly, looking out the window and understanding what I'm seeing is pretty important. It's one of the things that I can't control. My airplane, I can control. I can make sure it's well equipped and well fueled and all the pieces are operating properly. But the worst possible thing that could happen to you is you find yourself up in the air wishing you were on the ground because the weather is just horrible. So take advantage of some of the lessons that you get. Be a little humble when it comes to weather. Another area where you probably ought to be humble is with respect to the danger of fire in your own home. There were 2 fires recently. One was in Waynesboro at the Stover Apartments. Took place at 9 p.m. on Tuesday, the 17th of March. The Waynesboro, Longmeadow, and Waynesboro Volunteer Fire Departments all responded to that. And they were fairly fortunate because they were able to contain the fire before it did a lot of damage. Nobody was injured in that particular event. Not so fortunate in a fire over in Hagerstown, where one woman died and a teen was hospitalized as they were taken out of the burning residence. 7 different units and 67 firefighters from throughout the area responded to that fire. So in addition to there being injuries, there was also substantial damage to the structure. So these things can be nasty. $300,000 in damage is nothing to stick your nose up about. So when people tell you you ought to take preparations and make sure you know what you're doing and you don't allow fire hazards to exist in your home, take that seriously. The very best that most fire departments, or even police, if you're talking about that kind of an emergency, the very best they can do is usually 5 or 10 minutes to respond. So the best possible thing you can do is make sure that you prevent as many fires or as many incidents as you possibly can. And also make sure that if a fire breaks out, make sure you know how to get out of the way. Okay? Take that to heart. People get injured with this all the time. Moving on to another form of thing you ought to pay attention to, the ICE detention center, or what was previously described as the ICE detention center, is now identified as an ICE processing center. It turns out that in the early parts of this story, there was an awful lot of chatter about exactly what was going in and what the consequences were going to be. I think at least one group alleged that there were human rights violations that were going to take place. There wasn't going to be enough water, not enough restrooms. Well, it turns out that in more recent times, the people in the county, Washington County, had some conversations on the 16th of March with ICE and Department of Homeland Security representatives, and they clarified that no, this is not going to be a detention center. It's going to be more of a processing center. They're going to have a capacity of about 1,500, but they only expect on average to have about 500 people there. They're going to have their own medical staff on site so that if there's any problems with that, they won't put an undue strain upon local emergency services. They purchased, if you recall, they purchased the facility for about $102 million, and they've already let a contract for $113 million with an outfit in Gettysburg to do the renovation that they're going to need, which we would assume, although we have not confirmed this yet, they're going to take care of any concerns for additional water demand or sewage demand and things of that sort that have been identified as supposedly insurmountable problems. There were an awful lot of, I guess what I would tell you about this is when you see something like this and people start screaming all kinds of things, if they don't sound rational, or even if they do sound rational, but they're using an awful lot of inflammatory language, you probably ought to pause for a minute, kind of like we did. We, as a news outlet, we have to report what a lot of people are saying, even if it doesn't really pass the grin test. So you probably ought to just hold your powder for a while before you form an opinion. Wait for the story to develop. That's what we always have to do as a news organization. We have to wait a while until everybody chimes in. There is a useful lesson learned buried in this story, though, and that is that it would have been very, very helpful if several weeks ago, when this story was first breaking, if representatives of ICE and DHS had actually communicated directly with the local communities, the county, Hagerstown, and Williamsport, and shared with them what their plans were so that there would still be some objections. There was a judge, for example, who put a 2-week halt on all development activities at the old warehouse. But it would have been good to start off this conversation with a lot of factually accurate information and then go from there. That would have probably gone over better. There seems to be an awful lot of people that make this. In my experience, this is a rookie mistake among senior leadership. If they're not planting the seeds early, they shouldn't be surprised when people get very, very surprised when all of a sudden you spring on them that something is going to be happening in their immediate community. Just a suggestion, because it's happened in Hagerstown, it happens in Waynesboro from time to time, it happens in Chambersburg. It's a very human thing, and it's a very avoidable thing. So take my advice or not, but it usually works out if you plant the seeds early. In Hagerstown, Mayor Bill McIntyre delivered a State of the City presentation on the 6th of March. The main portions of his topics were safety, which include fire and police and EMS services that are provided. He talked about some reorganization that they did internally to make the entire operation there in Hagerstown work more efficiently. He talked about the homeless ordinance, which another one of those issues that got a lot of attention. Fortunately, they were very, very open about what they were trying to do and how they were trying to do it. And in the end, I think they probably won a lot of people over. And also, they've established a number of partnerships. One of the interesting things about this story is that this was put together at about the time that the ICE story was breaking. And there's no mention of ICE anywhere in the State of the City in the mayor's presentation. In Hagerstown, they are also considering rent control. This is reflecting a trend of good discussions that we've been seeing coming out of the Hagerstown community. One of the best things that we take from it is, even though there are controversial topics, referenced the homeless conversation earlier, even though there are controversial topics, they still take on the topics. They don't run from them. They don't hide from them. They get facts. They get evidence, and they work their way through. They're working through this. The usual arguments came up on both sides of the issue. On the one hand, if you establish rent control, you create a longer-term problem because landlords are going to be potentially less likely to put a lot of money into something that they can't recoup by adjusting prices to market rates. The flip side of that is if you've got a relatively large population of people who need cheaper housing, the real solution to that is probably to create more properties that are available that can be rented or sold at a cheaper price, rather than controlling the price of everything in the area. There are a number of alternatives in between these. The Hagerstown people are looking at rent assistance, a backlog of homes for subsidies, which if they can get more federal money, they can help make more homes available for lower prices, and many more to follow. There's going to be more conversation here, so stay tuned. We'll continue to follow that. In Chambersburg, this is a very nice thing that happened. There were some people who donated a particularly nice collection of jewelry to Habitat for Humanity over in the Chambersburg area. And as a result, they decided to turn this donation into an opportunity to build more homes. Of course, that's what Habitat does. They build low-cost housing, reference the previous story. They build low-cost housing, and this is one of the ways that they go about financing it. So they're going to have a live auction, which has already started. That'll be running through the 28th of March. If you're interested, contact Habitat for the details, or take a look at the story on Local News 1, and that'll give you the contact information so that you can get in touch. In Shippensburg, the Schreiber Foods outfit is going to be putting $132.9 million into an expansion of their yogurt production capability out there in the Shippensburg area, and that plant that's going to be spent over the course of about 3 years. What they're looking to do, primary thing, is they want to up their production of their utilization of milk to about 109,000 pounds of milk a day, with about 100,000 pounds worth of yogurt, an increase in yogurt being produced every day. Other features that they're building into this while they're at it, they want to address water reclamation, and they want to reduce the waste that's produced in the process. So, pretty smart outfit if they're going to do all these things all at the same time. Good thinking. That's also good for the community up there in Shippensburg. The local Patriot Credit Union is expanding with a new branch in Inwood, West Virginia. I think this is their second one in West Virginia. So apparently business is doing very, very good. They are set to open in the fall of 2026. In Hagerstown, the Goodwill over there is opening a new store at 18360 College Road on the 19th of March. For those of you who don't know, Goodwill has a unique business model. Not only do they sell everybody understands that you take things to Goodwill and they eventually turn around and sell it. What a lot of people don't understand, though, is they take all that stuff that people give them and they repair it and they clean it up. They provide jobs for people who need jobs, and part of their objective is to see to it that they're eliminating any obstacles to future employment for these people that are working for them. I don't think they expect people to work for them forever, but if they do leave, they will have skills under their belt that they can offer to future employers. So that's a particularly good thing that Goodwill does. The Waynesboro Fire Department celebrated several milestones this past week. First of all, they paid off a loan for their ladder truck, which is a really big deal because the equipment that all the fire departments utilize is just extraordinarily expensive. So they end up taking on huge amounts of debt. And that's not just for trucks, that's for personal gear, it's for a lot of other things as well. So most volunteer fire departments have although they get contributions from townships and boroughs and cities and whatnot, some of them are actually owned outright by municipalities. Most of them really have to work hard to come up with enough funds to finance themselves over time. So the fact that they did that is they paid off their one of their trucks is a really good deal. They also recognized several donors and thanked everybody for all their assistance. In Blue Ridge Summit, they were awarded a $15,000 donation for wildfire protection in Franklin County. This is part of a state $906,000 initiative to give money to 114 different companies throughout Pennsylvania in order to prevent wildfires, take steps to be able to handle them if they do break out. It's a 50-50 match. This is also, over the longer run, this is part of a $14 million program, or $14 million in expenditures from the state since 1982 to try to make sure that wildfires don't break out of control. We had one up around Shippensburg not too many months ago, in the fall, as a matter of fact, when there was a lot of fire danger in the area. In police news, nothing too horribly bad in terms of criminal activity. In Pennsylvania, a heads up for everybody who drives. Local and state police are joining with PennDOT to deal with aggressive driving. That includes a lot of things, not just speeding, but also weaving in and out of traffic. And basically, most people who've driven for a while know what crazy driving looks like. They want to stomp that out. So there's a big enforcement program underway. It's running from the 18th of March until the 26th of April. There will be 300 agencies across the state that are involved in this. So just a word to the wise, if you even think you are driving too aggressively, at least during this period, and probably for a longer period than just this period where they're going to be doing enhanced enforcement, maybe you ought to restrain yourself just a little bit. You probably don't need that trouble. One of the sadder things that took place over at Letterkenny, and the problem there was that this is just a reminder to those of us who've been in the military. Training can be dangerous. And in fact, there was a training incident over at Letterkenny in which Private First Class Christopher Lopez, aged 18, of Biglerville, right close by, died in an accident. Services for Private First Class Lopez will be taking place on the 28th of March. A lot of people wrote in to offer their condolences for that. It's horrible when those sorts of things happen, but the military is a dangerous business. I can tell you for a fact, we do take extraordinary steps to see to it that everybody trains safely. Under People News, Hagerstown's St. Mary's Catholic School is one of 38 Catholic schools in the country who have achieved the gold standard in Catholic education, which is being listed in the Newman Guide. They managed to achieve this by achieving extraordinarily high standards of academic and performance. In Wellspan, Chief Operating Officer Casey Paulus was listed as a Modern Healthcare's Leading Woman Rising Star for 2026. This award is presented to women who are making a measurable impact in their jobs and in their communities. In Smithsburg, Jim Schlossnagel, I hope I didn't hack that up too badly, he opened his 25th year as college coach with his 1,000th win on the 28th of February. He coaches for the University of Texas, which is one of the top-notch baseball colleges in the country. And he was asked, well, what do you do after you win your 1,000? He says, get back to work and win the 1,000 in first. I like this fella. He also puts a lot of emphasis, like many great coaches do, on focusing on the development of the people and the relationships that you build, so that they'll be able to move on from baseball into other careers. In Waynesboro, Ghostwriter is welcoming Diane Chamberlain to their team. She's going to be the principal consultant for content and strategy. A good note and a sad note, Smithsburg girls basketball. If you recall, they had an unbeaten season during the regular season. They extended their streak to 25-0 up until an overtime loss in the state semifinals. Ladies, terrific effort. Anytime you can put that kind of a powerhouse, and it takes overtime to knock you off, terrific effort. You got a great amount to be proud of. Look forward to seeing you people when you join the rest of us adults. That kind of performance carries over for the rest of your life. And we're looking forward to seeing you. There are also several other great health articles covering advances in breast cancer and mentioning that there's a continuing flu, COVID, and RSV bugs floating around in the area, weight loss, and others. Local News 1 has got a bunch of other things that you can do if you're interested. Crossword puzzles. We've been covering theatrical activities more actively in recent times. Local history comes out every Thursday, or every Tuesday, talking about the history of places that you probably see every day, but you didn't realize that there were so many historical things that had happened there. We take all these things from a constantly moving mosaic that is the community that we live in. We are very proud to be the news source for Verstandig Media. You can see all of the local news in localnews1.org. It's all local, no national. I think you'll enjoy it. Check it out. I bet you like it. And finally, the thought of the day from the world of technology. The man who invented the door knocker was awarded a Nobel Prize. Bada bing. Have a great week. See you next week.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Tri-State, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com.